themselves. The moment these words were uttered, my patience with Emma and her ilk reached its breaking point. The welcome event for the new employees was also ruined by Emma. Hearing Emma's loud laughter, I made a certain resolution. You're all fired. My name is Hannah. I'm a 34-year-old office worker. This is because I was assigned to the HR department until 3 years ago. Due to certain circumstances, I was transferred to the General Affairs department. HR and General Affairs are completely different fields. It took me quite a while to understand the content of my new job. However, everyone in the department knew the circumstances behind my transfer. They all taught me the areas I didn't understand well, and I was really grateful for their help. Half a year later, I became proficient in my job, and after a year, I could handle most of the tasks independently. The people in my department appointed me as a mentor, and in my second year, I started mentoring newcomers. Being a mentor was tough, but with everyone's help, I managed to fulfill my role successfully. Now in my third year, having successfully mentored last year's newcomers, I was asked to take on the role again this year. Of course I accepted. While I had high hopes for this year's newcomers, I also wished everything would go smoothly without any issues. But this hope was soon shattered. The company I work for has a 1-month training period before officially hiring. Those who perform well during this period are hired as official employees. Therefore, unlike other companies, our entrance ceremony is held a month later. During this training period, I encountered problematic individuals. This year, 3 new employees joined the General Affairs Department. All of them were Harvard graduates and highly elite. I was looking forward to meeting the new employees. When the CEO entered our department, the 3 new employees followed. All 3 newcomers were women, each as beautiful as a model. The CEO introduced the 3 new employees. We will have these 3 join the accounting department. Please teach them to work carefully. Then the CEO told us their names. Their names were Emma, Olivia, and Maria. Furthermore, Emma was the CEO's daughter. In other words, she was hired through connections. Olivia and Maria also decided to join the company in a similar manner. I was worried about their impure motivation for employment, but there was no doubt they were Harvard graduates. I decided to mentor these 3 with great expectation. After the CEO's introduction, I greeted the 3 newcomers. Nice to meet you. I'm Hannah, and I'll be in charge of your training. I look forward to working with you. All 3 of them giggled upon hearing my introduction, and while laughing, they introduced themselves. Nice to meet you. I'm Emma. I'm Olivia. Their introductions were somewhat condescending, and I was about to get angry, but Emma smirked nastily. You should know, if you do anything to me, I won't let it slide. My father is the CEO here, so if anything strange happens, I'll tell him. Emma continued. Besides, we're Harvard graduates. We're not like the low-educated people you usually see around here. Keep that in mind. Hearing these words, I was left speechless. Seeing this, the 3 of them laughed even louder. If I upset Emma and her group, even my position could be jeopardized. I had to tread carefully while mentoring these 3. After the introductions, I immediately started teaching them their tasks. First, I decided to teach them how to use the copier, but Emma said something unbelievable. Isn't the copier kind of outdated? Paper is an important resource now. Indeed, Emma had a point. If documents are shared on the computer, there's no need to create physical copies. However, if information leaks or viruses infiltrate the computer, there are highly confidential matters at stake. Therefore, it's necessary to keep important documents on paper, as well as on the computer. I explained this, but Emma was not convinced. Why not just install antivirus software on all the computers? Don't low-educated people even understand that? Faced with Emma's Harvard graduate bragging, I responded with a wry smile, explaining the necessity of keeping important documents in paper form. Emma reluctantly agreed, but afterwards she, along with Olivia and Maria, were muttering their dissatisfaction. This was challenging enough, but it was just the beginning stages. A week into the training, I gave the 3 of them a task. This time, during the training period, please prepare a presentation on knowledge useful for life. The assignment I gave was for them to create a presentation on this topic during the training period. Every year, we have new employees create their own presentation materials during training. This is to show how their ideas are perceived by others, and to understand what the company is capable of through creating these materials. Some newcomers have proposed ideas that the company had never considered before, and some of these ideas have been actually implemented, so this task is necessary to enhance the initiative of the new employees. I explained this, but at first all three seemed displeased. "This seems really tedious. I can't do this," especially Emma's two colleagues. Even after hearing the explanation, were making such comments. However, Emma said with a smirk, "I'll take this as a challenge for a Harvard graduate. I'll come up with a better presentation than any low-educated person could." Then she whispered something to Olivia and Maria. I couldn't hear what they were talking about, but after Emma finished speaking, Olivia and Maria seemed convinced. Somehow Emma had persuaded them, and I felt relieved, but it was a big mistake. The three newcomers had to learn the job's content while working on their training project. There were many tasks in the General Affairs Department, like ordering supplies and checking documents from various departments. Gradually learning these tasks, I decided to let the three of them handle the supply orders. Of course, I checked their work to avoid any mistakes. However, one day, when checking the supply orders they had placed, I noticed some obviously excessive numbers. Concerned about over-ordering, I approached them. "Excuse me, don't these numbers seem too high? I don't think we need to order this much." Emma responded with a disgruntled face. "Why is it bad to order too much? It's definitely better than running out." Emma unapologetically prompted me to say, "Ordering this much would be a waste of the budget and would cause trouble for the accounting department." Emma seemed petulant at my words. "Then just fix it yourself. I really can't stand how low-educated people think." Saying this, she threw the documents at me and walked away with the other two. Picking up the documents Emma had thrown, I sighed. Why do I have to be spoken to like this? I was just trying to do my job. My colleagues commented, "This year's newcomers are quite a handful," and encouraged me. I decided to correct the ordering mistake that Emma refused to fix. After that, whenever Emma and her group made mistakes, they made excuses and ended up mocking the less educated. I, as a training supervisor, had to clean up after them. This increased my workload, but thankfully other staff members helped me out, and I was very grateful. Continuing in this way, I started to feel stressed, but then an incident at the welcoming ceremony finally pushed me over the edge. Close to the end of the training period, I was called by the CEO. I thought I might be asked about Emma and her group, but the matter was different. "Hannah, actually, I'd like you to organize a welcome party for the new employees after the upcoming entrance ceremony." I was surprised. I had never thought about organizing such an event before, so I wanted to respond to the CEO's request. "Of course, leave it to me." I gladly accepted and started planning for the welcome party. Then I asked a certain shop if they could prepare bento boxes for the new employees. Although they don't usually make bentos, they agreed to do so, moved by my enthusiasm. It was expensive, but I was positive about preparing for the welcome party. Then, on the day of the entrance ceremony, since the ceremony was for new employees only, the existing employees stayed at the company and continued with their usual work. I left my work midway to prepare for the welcome party and headed to the employee cafeteria. The bentos I had ordered had arrived at the cafeteria. I decided to wait for the new employees. However, they didn't show up. Finding this odd, I decided to return to my department. On the way, I saw Emma and her group trying to leave. "Where are you going? It's still working hours." I hurriedly stopped all three of them. Then Olivia answered with a laugh. "We're going to have a welcome party for the new employees now, and it's organized by Emma." I hadn't heard about this, but then I thought, since Emma is the CEO's daughter, it would be easy for her to gather everyone. I informed Emma and her group that I was already hosting the welcome party, and that I had ordered bentos. However, upon hearing this, Emma said to me, "Thanks for your wasted effort. We're going to have our welcome party at a high-end barbecue restaurant. Your bentos will go to waste." The three of them burst into laughter, and then Emma delivered the final blow. "Low-educated employees can eat alone." The moment I heard these words, my patience with Emma and her group reached its limit. The event I organized for the new employees' welcome was ruined by Emma. Hearing Emma's loud laughter, I made a decision. "You're all fired." As I said this, Emma mockingly retorted, "As if someone of your low education could do that," and left. I decided to teach these three a lesson about the real world. Then I headed to a different department, not the general affairs, but the HR department where I originally belonged. I reported the incident to the Director of Human Resources. The Director of Human Resources sighed. Something that shouldn't have happened has happened. And while offering words of appreciation encouraged me, do as you please, Hannah. We'll handle anything that comes up. I returned to the General Affairs Department to report about Emma and her group, and also informed the General Affairs Manager that I would be working in the HR department for a while. The General Affairs Manager agreed and mentioned that they would take care of the bentos, intended for the welcome party. Grateful to the Director of Human Resources and General Affairs Manager, I returned to the HR department with Emma and her group's information, and the presentation materials they had submitted 3 days before. In the HR department, as I reviewed Emma and her group's information and the presentation materials, I sensed something was off. Upon searching the presentation content, my suspicions were confirmed. Further investigation revealed that Emma was active on social media. Her account was not private, but openly accessible. Looking through her social media, I saw Emma behaving recklessly. While preparing for the inevitable, I suddenly received a phone call. The content of the call gave me more leverage to bring Emma and her group down. 3 days after the disastrous welcome party, I waited in the meeting room with the documents. The three of them entered the meeting room laughing. Seeing me, Emma smirked. What's this about? Calling us suddenly? We're busy, so hurry up with your business, or what? Are you withdrawing what you said about canceling our job offers? Ignoring Emma's words, I coldly told the three of them. I won't withdraw. You are dismissed as of today. Huh? Don't joke with me. Emma, upon hearing the word dismissed, got furious and didn't accept it. You just can't decide to dismiss us. Did you snitch to someone in HR? Just try it, and I'll get my dad to fire you. Emma threatened me without any respect in her tone. However, the one getting fired will be you, Emma. The person who entered the meeting room was the CEO, Emma's dad. Dad? Emma looked at the CEO in surprise. Olivia and Maria were speechless. What have you done? You've brought shame upon me. Emma seemed not to understand, so I explained to Emma. Emma, at the high-end barbecue restaurant your father is fond of, you caused trouble in front of other customers. Why do you know about that? Emma still didn't get it, so I continued. Because there's a photo of you causing a scene at the restaurant on social media. I showed Emma and her group the photo from SNS, depicting the three of them causing a commotion. You're violating our privacy by looking at that. It's your fault for not making your account private. Besides, you were causing trouble at the restaurant. Did you know your SNS is blowing up right now? I chuckled as I said this to an angry Emma. It was a nasty attitude on my part, but I had endured their terrible treatment until now. Furthermore, I informed Emma and her group. But who would have thought that you would make such a racket at the same restaurant I ordered the bentos from? What a coincidence. The person who called earlier was a high-end barbecue restaurant. It turned out the restaurant where Emma and her group were causing a scene was the same one from which I had ordered the bentos. I had a memorable experience eating delicious barbecue from this restaurant during a previous welcome party. Later, I learned that the restaurant is run by the CEO's close friend, and that the CEO often visits after work. However, the restaurant was struggling with decreased customers recently, so I suggested offering barbecue bentos to get feedback. After much persuasion, they agreed to my proposal. It just so happened that I was asked to organize the welcome party, so I thought of having the new employees try the high-end barbecue bentos and give their feedback. Turns out you reserved at the same restaurant. Bad luck for you, Emma. Emma glared at me, but I looked away and apologized to the CEO. CEO, I'm really sorry. I acted without permission. That's not true. Your actions helped save my friend's restaurant. It's my daughter who acted without permission. Emma looked irritated watching our exchange. Why are you and Dad so close? Don't tell me, are you having an affair with this woman? The CEO was furious with Emma, but I interrupted and explained to Emma. I've been working in HR, as well as general affairs, at the request of the CEO, checking for unreasonable employees like you. In fact, I was transferred from HR to general affairs to conduct internal investigation at the CEO's request. Fortunately, there hadn't been any employees causing problems for a few years. and I hadn't been doing much HR work. But for employees with problematic behavior like this time, such sanctions were necessary. Then Olivia and Maria desperately turned to me. It's not like that. I was just following Emma's orders. Me too. I did this because Emma wanted to sabotage the welcome party. Are you betraying me? The three of them finally started arguing. You were all eager to sabotage the welcome party. We never thought you'd actually go through with it. It's Emma's fault, so it's not our problem. I couldn't bear to watch their quarrel any longer. Of course, I intended to impose the same sanctions on Olivia and Maria as I did on Emma. I presented something in front of the three. It was the presentation materials they had submitted for their assignment. These are the presentation materials the three of you submitted, but when I searched online, I found another presentation with the exact same content. While investigating Emma and her group's problematic behavior, I decided to check their presentation materials as well. I discovered an article on a certain website that had word for word the same content. Not just Emma, but Olivia and Maria had also used the article without permission. Maria, Olivia, even if you weren't involved in this incident, the fact that you plagiarized remains unchanged. You will receive the same punishment as Emma. Maria and Olivia turned pale. However, Emma was still visibly angry at me. Don't joke around. A low-educated woman getting cocky? I could only respond to Emma's anger with a wry smile. Then, with a hint of sarcasm, I said, You're a Harvard graduate, but can't even use polite language. I'm starting to doubt if you really graduated from Harvard. Or maybe you didn't actually graduate from Harvard, did you? Emma, who had been furious, suddenly began to look unsettled. Then the CEO, who had been listening, joined in. Wait a minute. Harvard graduate? Emma, she didn't even go to college, let alone graduate from Harvard. Emma looked embarrassed. This was something else I had discovered during my investigation. Since there was no mention of Harvard on her SNS, I decided to check Emma and her group's backgrounds. Turns out none of them had attended Harvard. Moreover, instead of getting hired through connections without their father knowing, they had forged their resumes and applied for the job normally. Dad, there's a reason for this. Emma tried to make excuses, but the CEO glared at her. Then he said to me, Hannah, please leave the room. I need to have a detailed talk with these three. Deciding to leave the rest to the CEO, I was about to exit the meeting room, but said one last thing to Emma. By the way, I am a Harvard graduate, the one you've been boasting about. But remember, a person is not just their academic background. I take pride in being a Harvard graduate, but I've never bragged about it. Unless you change your attitude, you won't have a good life. Emma glared at me until the end, but my final words made her slump. Then I left the meeting room. Later, Emma, Olivia, and Maria were furiously scolded by the CEO and dismissed from the company. The welcome party organized by Emma was a last-minute arrangement, where they had forced other new employees to join. Moreover, they planned to use the CEO's money for the party, and that too was discovered. Naturally, Emma was disowned, and is now living in a shabby apartment with Olivia and Maria, working part-time and arguing with each other. As for the high-end barbecue bentos I ordered, they were eaten by the employees, and the leftovers were taken home by those with families, so they didn't go to waste. The feedback on the bentos was quite positive, and when I reported this to the restaurant, they considered commercializing them. Meanwhile, I moved back to HR from General Affairs. The people in General Affairs said they would miss me, but I was relieved to return to my original duties. However, I still visit General Affairs occasionally for small talk. Following this incident, I became the deputy head of HR. The head of HR referred to me as a candidate for the next head, so I aspire to continue meeting everyone's expectations as an employee.